Afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the national webinar organized by National Atlas and Thematic Mapping Organization, which is a part of the year-long celebration of 75th year of Indian independence. We have also taken an initiative to arrange special activities for visually impaired, which is also part of the year-long celebration from this August, that means August 2021 to August 2022, for especially for the visually impaired children and other people. And this event today, which is on Braille, is the first event for that 1 year long activity. Before I proceed to the event, I request all the participants to mute their audio to avoid interruptions. Today's topic is Braille literacy for the print-handicapped books, maps, and graphics. Braille literacy is the passage which can move the visually challenged children from specialized schools for the blind into mainstream school, which can cater to inclusive education. NATMO is always associated with visually impaired children, and NATMO has always taken initiative to bring the blind and severely partially sighted children into the light of spatial information with the help of Braille maps prepared by NATMO. And this map helps them to understand the world, the earth around them, which is very much interesting to them. Now, I would request our Honorable Director, Madam Dr. Tapati Banerjee, to say a few words on today's occasion. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Shreya. Good morning to all members of NATMO and who are present over here in this virtual platform. And I also welcome the members outside NATMO, especially from the who are involved, from the teachers, faculty, trainees, trainers who are involved in this special education system. And as already informed by Shreya, that as a part of 75 years of independence, we are conducting a series of seminar, and Braille has been included as part of that year-long program as a special program. And in this regard, I just want to inform you all that the last 3 years, means up to 2019, from 2017 to 2019, we started this awareness program for the children, especially students of 8th, 9th and 10th standard for that Braille mapping education. And different quiz program and other awareness program training we have conducted, but due to COVID situation that has been stopped. And I request who are present over here, I request your suggestions how to again start this program. And today we will listen from Hina Madam, who is closely associated with NATMO for this special education system, because when I met in 2016 after joining in this organization, when I met Madam, and she immediately told why it has been stopped, because it was started long back by Mr. Bhattacharya, why it has been started. So that association really means I was inspired by her interaction, her association, and from that time onwards, she's again very much linked with NATMO. And today I request, after her deliberation, I request Madam, you please visit our this Braille units with our members, how we are developing this Braille unit section, totally digital solution we are developing, and the machine is here, and that by next month it will start its functioning, and that center of excellence we are going to develop. So with after your deliberation, you please visit. That is my request. I am not there, I am in that another office. And if with your deliberation, I think there will be lots of ideas will come how to continue that education system again with that children or students who are really deprived by this COVID situation. Because last 3 years, our team members, all team members, they visited different centers, different schools for developing for this awareness program. So again, we want to start that same program, because each and every member of NATMO, they are very much interested to work with them. They love to work with them. So please, your suggestion is required how again we can start the same. So with this, I request Madam to start your deliberation, because everybody is eagerly waiting for your to listen from you. With this, I thank you all again in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have with us our respected speaker of the day, Srimati Hina Basu. She is the director of Basu Research and Documentation Service, Kolkata, serving United States and European scholars with research consultation on history, religion, language, and literature of Bengal. She is the founder secretary of Society for the Visually Handicapped, which was formed in 1983. She is the education resource support body for persons with low vision. She has also received awards on national and state level for excellence in community service and for the innovative projects, that is annual mountaineering training for blind youths, jointly with the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute, Darjeeling, under the Ministry of Defense. She is an inspiration for us. She has always guided NATMO in NATMO's journey of Braille map, and she is very much associated with us in our journey in every aspect. So, ma'am, please, we are waiting for your speech, and I request you to start your speech on the topic you have chosen, Braille literacy for the print handicapped, books, maps, and graphics. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the, please pardon me, on behalf of the Society for the Visually Handicapped, Kolkata, I express my gratitude to Madam Director Taupati Banerjee for giving me this precious opportunity on the occasion of 75 years of independence of our country's celebration. I again thank her very much. My next point is, I want to dedicate this speech to 2 or 3 persons. First, I would like to dedicate this to leading persons with vision impairment who, without any resources in the decades of 20s and 30s, walked alone, raised movements to create awareness among people who had absolutely no idea that a person with a loss of vision can go very far, sometimes even further than a person with vision. I salute to them. Next, I want to dedicate this to one lady doctor, Dr. Miss Nargis J. Setna. In 1972, I was just a fresh postgraduate from Calcutta University, and I joined her as a part-time reader till my result was declared. And then I would go for a career of my own. Dr. Setna, herself being a medical professional, was a victim of retinitis pigmentosa, a genetic eye disease which takes away vision rapidly. So joining with her as a reader gradually changed my course of life, which I consider a blessing. And today in 2021, I am convinced that she had no reason to be a blind person, but it was God's will that her life would touch mine, and through me, many more lives would be touched to devote ourselves to the empowerment of persons with vision impairment. And lastly, I would like to offer my humble regards to the team of NATMO. I must say, 3 decades, at least 3 to 4 decades back, they joined us and they were so eager. And in those days, computerized production hasn't come yet. So I remember Mr. Aniruddha Bhattacharya. He would carry that zinc plate and he'll go to the mechanic to manually get the perforations and all that, and then interact with us. He is no more. But the persistence with which the NATMO team members have been continuing with this effort is something remarkable to me and remarkable to persons with loss of vision. I now go back to the text of my speech. I have divided my speech from 3 aspects. First is the user aspect. Second is the product or the teaching learning material. And finally, the map aspect. Most of our learned viewers would agree that many organizations often approach us to do some projects for the empowerment of persons with vision impairment, be it with education, be it with cultural program or recreation like this. And often they prove to be very temporary. Sometimes there's funding, they come, they participate in some program, and they are lost. But what I thought was, when the NATMO friends came and showed their zeal, that it is very important we must define our users. Because for a person with vision, it is not very, but it is convenient and useful to glance over a map and collect umpteen number of information. After all, human eye is a camera. And since morning, this camera is on till you go to bed at night. And this camera is just collecting and storing information all around us, whether we are aware or not. So, when I am going to touch the user aspect, I very briefly would like to draw your attention to the impact created by loss of vision on a human being. The first loss is loss of information. As I said, we are collecting information whether we want it or not, whether we are aware or not. But for a person with vision impairment, until that information is delivered, it is not possible for them to get that information naturally. Second is the loss of independent mobility. With the loss of vision, a person loses the self-confidence to move independently. They seem to forget that life is motion, and one has to be independent to negotiate the turns of life. One has to be independent to be mobile, to participate in life in a full-fledged way, and to be a decision maker. A person with vision impairment must take his or her own decision when that person is mobile again. And why this point is very important today is MAP is vitally related to mobility. I don't mean by map only cartography. This is a map which a person with vision impairment is constantly developing in his or her brain, whether he or she going to a place or whether he or she is organizing something within her own area. This is something very vital for their independence. And the third loss is the loss of recreation. In the case of a person with vision impairment, this freedom to have a recreation of one's own choice get restricted. So what we have to do to compensate for these losses, if we compare the picture with sighted children, the children with loss of vision have to be given inputs, which we call concept developments, plus some daily living skills. So, if we think that a child of class 1 is going to school with his bag, his water bottle, or whatever, this child is seeing his older siblings going to school, and the child knows, mentally prepared. So that is absent in the case of a child with loss of vision. And in a country like India, this situation gets all the more complex because children mostly come from BPL families, because it's a shame for us to say, even today, blindness is not free from the vicious cycle of poverty, malnutrition, and infection. So, when a child normally develops his or her daily living skills of brushing one's teeth in the morning, having bath, guided by parents, the same thing is missing in the case of a child with loss of vision, living especially in the rural areas and urban slums. So what impact I would say what damage it causes is we never get these children diagnosed or detected at the right age, because cause of blindness varies. For example, we are not professionals of vision impairment or anything like in the clinical sense of the word, but what we have been told, mostly by doctors, that we have 3 types of challenges. One is congenital malformations. A child is born with some congenital defects, like both the eyes are not on the same level, one eye is small, light is not coming in the same way in both the eyes. So all these are happening to a child, and doctors, they are going to doctors day after day. They are being tested. Some of these children can have some vision, they have light, but they just don't know how to use that vision, remaining vision. So this is a severe damage. And by the time the child is ready for going to a school or something, he or she is over age. Then the second one, that is genetic. There are several genetic diseases like macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa. So these diseases have no cure as it is in the world. Most cases, these diseases attack in the youth of life and devastatingly take away vision of a person at the prime age. This is what was the case of Dr. Setna. In case of a child, genetic disease is diagnosed not always at proper time, because a child with a genetic loss of vision can manage work during daytime. So nobody bothers about his night blindness. All over the world, there are various support groups for retinitis pigmentosa, etc., where people rally around, but there is no cure. And thirdly, it's accidents or injury. Accidents we frequently see, road accidents or whatever, and injuries, especially in the rural areas, cause damage to children's eyes because they go and catch small birds. And once they catch the bird, the beak heats the eye of the child. There is Holi. We celebrate Holi, but we are often forgetful that the powder of the Holi may be severely injurious to someone else's eyes. My point in telling all these is that the diagnosis of an incurable blindness, or the diagnosis that a child is ready for school education, that is not done at a proper time. There is a lot of delay, and by the time we get the child, one has to start a new process. I go to the school scenario. We know that India has a number of blind schools, but surveys have proved that these blind schools have been mostly urban centered. In fact, 2 to 3% are in the urban areas. In the last few decades, people have started building schools, blind schools, but those are not always meeting the standard demands for a good education of a blind child. Vis-a-vis, government has introduced the inclusive education for blind children in particular, and all children with other impairments. But what has happened is, most of these children, they need a lot of resource support. Government supplies books, government supplies aids and appliances. But what happens is, when you go to the school, you find the teacher is not skilled enough. We know, we are all aware of these problems. So what I mean to say is that we are never getting the child ready for education, and this is where Braille literacy comes in. Now, the difference between our country and the Western countries lies, I don't want to compare this, but what I want to point out is that in the Western countries, they are going individual child policy. In that case, what happens is, for every child, they start researching, they start guided knowledge, they give assisted help service. In that case, and you always get a written feedback. Even if you search the internet, you can find out that there are 100 ways of teaching Braille. Okay, this is too ambitious for India. But in our country, what happens is, it's a rubber stamp policy. There are 10 blind children, so just go on rote learning, Braille dots, this, like that. But a child may not like to learn Braille at all, because in the words of Lowenfeld, a child is a child first, disabled next. That child, away from the home, in the midst of a hostile life, not even, I wouldn't say intelligent, but not capable yet to grab the capacity of decoding Braille dots, are forced to learn Braille by rote. He or she rejects it, and the result is devastating. Now, until and unless Braille literacy is delivered by quality, this decoding of map, decoding of graphics will remain a far dream. Next, I go on to the learning material, or what we call product. We have actually grown up with the traditional learning material for children with vision impairment, that Braille slate. First it was interline slate, then A4 slate came, then Braille. But the students in an institution may not have all these facilities, or even if they have facilities, school may have a lot of other problems to solve. The teacher might be used in some other work, or the teacher may not be skilled enough. So as we all know, there are always several problems to handle with. So these traditional material, despite all these, what used to happen is, previously, most of these blind schools had very senior blind teachers. I have personally seen them, especially in Calcutta Blind School. And I have seen how lovingly these teachers, they were really, really very aged. They must have retired, but they had nowhere to go. The school rehabilitated them. But I've seen these teachers, they would just lovingly take the child, hug them, and teach them Braille. So, catering both literacy and love and emotion. But this is all now gone. So, shall I continue? The next point is the advent of technology. We all very warmly welcome technology because we know technology has come to stay with us, and every day it will develop rapidly. Same thing has happened in our country also. But the difficulty remains where? The difficulty is, in Western countries, a person with vision impairment can demand a technological item, challenge that, grow up with that mechanism. And since in Western countries, almost all persons live independently and depend on machines, they can handle them well. But what is happening in our country? We have a number of technological products just dumped in the market. The companies are approaching us. Here is this computer, here is this watch, here is this smart cane. But who will use them? The user is not capable in the sense financially, assisted guidance. They are not able to handle it. So, but the government encourages social welfare. So government holds a program and distributes all these gadgets. Most of them, they lie unused. So we are being hooked to a market economy very cleverly, because we have in India many Indian agents who are selling. Every other day we get in the emails selling the products with technological advancements. But who will use them unless you are able to develop the user? So this brings us to the final point, capacity building. I know in all over the country, there are several learned organizations working for the empowerment of persons with vision impairment day and night, and they're helping as much as possible toward capacity building of those who should be eligible for a job, who should be eligible for a certain capacity. So all the organizations all over the country are trying very hard. But that is only the tip of the iceberg. The major population who need this support bottom upwards, they remain invisible. We are still not able to touch them. the way we need to. Finally, I come to maps. First, as I pointed out earlier, the navigation skill, which is something a person with vision impairment integrally needs. There are several trainings on mobility. There are institutions who are giving training on mobility. But this is something which a person has to develop on his or her own. I have seen leading blind persons in the country. Some of them I have seen, and I have just felt stunned the way they are organized. And later on, I realized that these people, they have organized their lives in such a manner that even a sighted person will get confused. For example, I can give the example of Dr. Vyas, Joyanta Sengupta, Mr. Dilip Loyalka, the first blind chartered accountant. So what I mean to say is, these are skills which a person with above average develops. And you know what cost it needs? That person has to work 20 hours a day. What a sighted person works in 8 hours, the same work this person has to do again 8 to 10 hours back in home to keep himself or herself updated. But this, we are talking of persons above average. It happens everywhere. Even with persons of vision, persons who are above average, they are skilled to negotiate their lives with certain skills. So my point is, this navigation skill is the beginning of map developing for a human being to organize himself or herself. Then I am coming to cartography and the contribution of NATMO. I have seen how the maps, Braille maps, developed by NATMO has been split up into several pieces, whereas the weather of India comes in print on one page, the same comes in 4 or 5 Braille pages. So what is very important is the spatial concept. This spatial concept is absolutely missing in persons with vision impairment. So when we first started workshops, I was very privileged that NATMO gave me opportunity to have workshops done in our library. I checked and I found that this spatial concept exists in a person with vision impairment, no doubt. But the moment it goes to east, west, north, south, or location of a place in a particular map, or whatever information, linking the information with the map, that is very tough for a person unless that person is continuously with it. I have the pleasure to say that NATMO never leaves their endeavor. Despite their very busy commitments, they would frequently hold workshops within Calcutta, going outside, preparing voice inputs, preparing Braille inputs. In fact, several of them have developed Braille knowledge also. and they are trying their best to deliver the information through maps. What I would conclude with a question mark, that we persons who are educators of the blind, whatever we call the educators of the blind, we need to develop a very special skill so that we don't lose this precious opportunity that NATMO is giving. We are quite sure nobody is going to give us on a ready platter this sort of a gift. So as an educator of the blind, we need to develop how best we can have a skill to give this special concept to a child with vision impairment, so that when he or she grows up, he or she is capable of consulting a map. NATMO is very rich with its variety of maps. Sometimes if you don't have the opportunity to travel, you can just pour down on their map on tourism and you explore. It gives you a lot of freedom. So as an educator of the blind, we must ask ourselves, can we not share this freedom to explore to a child, to a student with vision impairment, to have this tactile skill developed? Braille is something very hard to, I would say, it's very hard. What we mean is, people usually think that, oh, this person is blind, he or she can read Braille, oh, he or she will manage this. But just, you have to think over that Braille, you have to touch it. That is tactile skill. It goes to your brain. Then you decode it, and then you relate it. It demands a lot and lot of patience, lot and lot of time, lot and lot of physical energy. Your fingers are engaged there on the heavy Braille book. So it is now our duty to think over how best we can deliver this gift of NATMO to our brethren with loss of vision, so that in the coming generations, they are enriched to explore. I would also say that I have seen many thermoform maps, even Western countries' maps also. I have seen thermoform maps, raised maps, but something what NATMO gives in Braille, that is incomparable. So, on this special occasion, I think all my learned viewers, we should come together and we should explore how best we can incorporate map reading as a part of a syllabus for children with vision impairment, instead of making geography a no, because geography is a visual subject. Just leave geography out of syllabus for the blind children. No, it's very positive. NATMO has served us the map, tactile map, voice input is there. So why not? Let us take on ourselves the responsibility to empower our future generations with a skill to have the freedom to explore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your excellent presentation. Thank you for being an inspiration for us and for being there for the visually challenged children and also finding new dimensions and innovations for them to send love and also the light of education simultaneously. And also thank you so much for reminding us our duty towards them. And also as NATMO staff, we remind you remind us the duty that we have to take this forward, and we have to reach to other many children around there, and they're waiting for this glorious braille maps that we have prepared. Thank you so much, and we will always expect you with us in our journey. Please, thank you so much, ma'am. Now we will proceed to the interactive session, but before that I request all the participants to turn on their video cameras, and I request our respected director madam to say a few words on this presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Your excellent deliberation, and thank you, Shreya. Actually, ma'am, we are previously, as you know, that we used to develop this Braille map manually, and now we are in a position to develop the same digitally. Complete digital solution we are giving, and we have shown our map to different institutes, to different experts like you, uh, all over India, and they have recommended our map as the cost of production is very less in case of ours. We also tried with thermo sheets, as your thermoform sheet. The cost of that a single page is, as it is imported one, the cost of single page is 100 rupees, and that is not, I feel, under Indian condition, it is not at all affordable by the students and their family members. So our the production cost in case of ours, it is less than 10 rupees, even less than 5 rupees when we start this large scale production. Even NATMO is now in a position to provide uh, uh, one atlas for each student. NATMO has developed in such a way, and if it is now become that that part of that school education, regular education, we are even ready to provide that map, single map, and that atlas also to each of the students. And for every exam schedule, if you include that one, we can give that classroom use as well as for that in that exam preparation, practical exam, if that schools they ask for that, they send us request, we can provide that also. That way NATMO has developed, and really you are 100% right that our children, basically the students are very below poverty level, and not they that when that I have seen, I have in different institute I have visited, and there I have seen, especially in the northern and western part, I have seen they are using that several instrument and gadgets for their education, while it is really eastern part and the southern part, and they are not acquainted with this gadget system, and the actual brain education, brain language, eastern part, they are and northeastern and the southern part, they are developing their students in such a way they can learn the braille language itself, as you are always emphasize on that itself, that they should know their language. So that is in some cases it is lacking in that northern part that I have seen, and also they are now in that very competition stage like ours. So I think if the schools, the students, they send us the feedback, the how to improve, what they really want from us. We are ready. Our team are ready to provide every solutions from that. At least we'll try to give every solutions to them. With this, I thank you for your excellent deliberation. I think some more interaction or some more questions may arise out of the listener. So I request for that interactive session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I request all the participants to come forward with their questions to make the interactive session interesting. Anyone?
Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Hina, I want to ask one question. During this pandemic period, all the students are suffering most, especially the visually impaired students. They are suffering the most because we know that some students, they used to stay in the hostel, but during this pandemic period, their parents didn't accept them properly. And what is the solution for them? This is my first question. And next question is, some students, they are using the audio system throughout this pandemic period, but what they are lagging behind. What is the education system during this pandemic period for the visually impaired student? What is your opinion?
Thank you, Anjana. My first point is this: we must understand this pandemic is causing devastation to persons with vision impairment because the human contact, the touch, that is something very vital for a person with vision impairment. But this corona pandemic, the very fundamental thing is there should be no human contact. So this is causing severe damage to students with vision impairment because wherever they are, they will be lost without a human contact. Secondly, as far as their education goes, institutions are all closed. So I have no idea about children because what we can guess or what our experience says that most of them are first generation learners and come from very poor families, and parents are relieved that for 10 years at least this child will be taken care of by someone else. So that situation is gone now, and they are thrown back into their old situation. We often get phone calls about what to do. So it's just counseling. We are doing counseling because we are equally helpless also. And as far as education of the students are concerned, those who are doing higher education, the picture is no good for them also, because most of them have gone back home. Some of them have 3 or 4 brothers, sisters, all blind. So it's a very pathetic situation in their home. And they have no space of their own in a room where they can sit and listen to their audio books. So on our part, what we have done is we are uploading our audio books to the domain SoundCloud, and from that we are linking it to the Facebook page SVH Braille Books for Blind. So that way we are trying to keeping our books continuously uploaded so that through their telephones, by the way, they're experts in handling smartphones. We sighted persons are still very shaky in handling our smartphones, many of us, but most of our blind brothers and sisters are very smart and very efficient in handling smartphones. So they are using their smartphones, but basically we can always sense, it's causing such a devastation in our mind. It is damaging our mind with all our resources around. So what damage must be causing to persons with vision impairment who are thrown back into their remote rural areas? We have no answer really.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to ask any question? Anyone?
হেনাদি আমি রুচিরা বলছি। হেনা
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
শোনা যাচ্ছে তো? হেনাদি, আমি একটা কথা একটু জিজ্ঞেস করছি যে আমরা তো এরকম এক ক্লাস করিয়ে যাচ্ছি, আমি চাইছিলাম যে আরেকটু কি ধরনের মানে আপনি যদি একটু সাজেশন দেন যে কি ধরনের ম্যাপ করলে ওটা আরো বেশি ওরা সেটাকে গ্র্যাব করতে পারে আর কি। কেন সব স্কুলেই না কেউই এক ক্লাসটা খুলেও দেখে না, কেন তাদের টিচাররা কেউ খুলেও দেখায় না। এই যে পরিস্থিতিটা, এটার থেকে আমরা কি করে মানে বেরোতে পারি? আরো কিছু কি তাদের কাছে আরো বেশি ইন্টারেস্টিং করে কিছু করা যায়, সেটা আপনার কাছে একটা সাজেশন চাইছিলাম।
না রুচিরা, আমার যেটা মনে হয় সেটা হচ্ছে যে এই ম্যাপের কনসেপ্টটা আরো অনেকটা ছোট বয়স থেকে ধরাতে হবে। এবং এক্ষেত্রে যেটা আমার কাছে মনে হয়, সর্বশিক্ষা অভিযান যেটা এখন সরকারি ইয়েতে চলছে, সমগ্র শিক্ষা অভিযান, এইটা দিয়ে যদি আমরা ইনক্লুসিভ এডুকেশন সেট আপে যেসব বাচ্চা পড়ছেন তাদের কাছে পৌঁছতে পারি, তাতে কিন্তু আমরা একই ক্লাসরুমে সাইটেড ম্যাপও থাকছে এবং চিলড্রেন উইথ ভিজুয়াল ইম্পেয়ারমেন্ট ওদের জন্য ব্রেল ম্যাপও থাকছে। এইটা কিন্তু সমগ্র শিক্ষা অভিযানের সঙ্গে আমাদের একটু যোগাযোগ করতে হবে। এইটা দিয়ে আমরা ব্লাইন্ড স্কুলটাকে এর মধ্যে না জড়াতে পারি, কেন ব্লাইন্ড স্কুলের নিজের অনেক সমস্যা আছে। তো সমগ্র শিক্ষা অভিযানের পেছনে যেহেতু গভর্নমেন্টের সাপোর্ট আছে, প্রচুর রিসোর্স টিচার্স আছেন, তো সেই ক্ষেত্রে আমরা ছোট ছোট ক্লাসটা করে আমরা ধরতে পারি কিছু স্কুলকে, এটা আমার মনে হয়।
না সেক্ষেত্রে তো তাহলে আমাদের ম্যাডামকে ব্যবস্থা নিতে হবে না? কেন সেখানে আমরা ছোট ছোট এভাবে করবো কি করে? ক্লাব মতন যে করবো সেটা করবো কি করে? কেন সেখানেও একই সমস্যা হবে, কিন্তু সাইটেড পিপলরা কিন্তু একদম ব্রেইন ম্যাপটা তাদের ভালো করে দেখাবেই না। ম্যাক্সিমাম জায়গায় আমরা দেখছি যে ওরা অ্যাটলাসটাকে না পুরো তুলে রেখে দিচ্ছে, বাচ্চারা কেউ দেখতেই পাচ্ছে না। এটা তো ঠিক হচ্ছে না, না ব্যাপারটা এটা ওদের কাছে তো আরো বেশি ইন্টারেস্টিং ব্যাপারটাকে করতে হবে।
Can I intervene in this matter? Actually, what Ruchira is telling, it is also true. But one case in that, as Madam is saying, you also know, Madam, we had a meeting or that awareness program among the trainers. As you said in your deliberation, that in maximum, most of the schools, either there is no Braille teacher or there is no subject matter specialist, subject matter geography teachers, and that hardly we have seen out of that 100 only 1 or 2 schools are having this Braille teacher who knows geography. That is the main problem, because if the teacher doesn't have the interest on map, how they can teach to the students? And as we know that number of students are not so much that we cannot provide the map to them. I think we should go now according to the syllabus, because now that schools, that students are more acquainted with the syllabus, and syllabus oriented teaching system is that exam oriented teaching system now is prevailing. So I think we should go with that syllabus system, and we should interact with the integrated school, as we have so much of list, so many lists are there. Anjana is having, because we made one interactive program in our institute, so we can supply the maps as well as single map, as well as that atlas to the each and every students. If we can provide, I think some solution will be there out of that. Otherwise, we have to make more interaction with the teachers as well as with the schools, how to solve the solution. Because when up to till date, we have provided only one atlas to one school, or at least two atlas in one school. I think that is not enough for the students. We have to provide one atlas for each student. Even if not possible to provide all the maps, all the atlases, I think some of the maps we should provide according to their syllabus. In that case, some of the this gap will be reduced, I hope. What is your suggestion, ma'am?
Yes, madam, one thing strikes me, that is, you are taking the venture of translating them into Indian languages. Actually, India is not a single language country. 14 to 16 languages are there. So once you are translating them into regional languages and the maps are reaching to those persons, so that way the interaction can happen. What I mean to say is, there is no 1, 2, 3 solution like that. We have to take several directions to our target clientele. And we can never expect somebody will come and say, okay, I will take the class on map, children come, will teach. That is never going to happen. But within our limitations, what I feel is, supposing somebody in Hindi is very interested in the map, somebody in Kannada is very interested in the map and sending you the feedback, we can make a network. We know that at least somebody is reading, instead of just depending on Bengali schools. And I think your maps were in English, isn't it, madam?
Ma'am, we have at that first stage we prepared that in English. Now we have converted that English, Hindi and Bengali language. We have completed that one. So these 3 languages are available, and I am trying to translate in Odia and Assamia and some other languages. Actually, that we are not getting that experts in different subjects, in different languages, who can translate, who can help us for translation and transliteration. That is the main issue now we are facing, because we are now ready to prepare the map, but we are not getting that experts for translation work. That I need. That need I help from different corner of the country. We are now searching for that. Because different printing section, we asked for that. Different. We are now, Anjana is very much trying, and Daud and Uchira, they are also very much trying to do that. Only 3 languages we have complete. We could complete. Some other languages we are trying to get it done.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Good morning, Hina Di. It was very nice to hear from you. And it was nice you have explained about the history of Braille literacy. Secondly, I just would like to say that if you have, NATMO has done a good job preparing maps and different type of things, but to do it in a different languages, it is not so difficult, because nowadays in Google and different methods are there. You can change, translate the languages very easily. I think so. So I feel that this should go to all over India, so more students can be able to use these maps. Thank you.
Ma'am, with your permission, kind permission, I just want to inform you that we tried with that Google language. As all we know, Google Translator, that is not foolproof. And that should be vetted by some experts, language expert, as well as that subject matter specialist. Otherwise, we are being a government organization, based on Google, we cannot publish anything. Some expert has to vet it, authenticate it, that is 100% true, then only we can publish. So that is that. One thing is that translation of the language itself. Suppose it should be that transliteration is required, and that Braille script of that particular language is required. That is the most important thing. Otherwise, simply translation is not possible. That we are searching. If you can help us on that, we will be very helpful. We will be thankful to you if anyone can help us.
Let me see. We will be in touch with you.
Madam, I think we should take a resolution today. I think we should take a resolution today that for 1 year now you're continuing these webinars. On your part, you have done an excellent job. But let me take some time to think over, and let me connect with some leading educators of the blind, and let me explore and get back to you, because this is a bit complex situation, and we have to visibly face it. So I think it will take a little time, and let us say another, after say about 6 or 7 months, let us see if we can make some progress.
Thank you, ma'am. And that is why we have started this series of special education. We have started this one for further development. So if anyone can help, we are ready to take any sort of help from the experts and those who are working with this students community. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else who has joined from outside of our organization? Some of them are also visually impaired children's teachers. So if you want to ask any question, you can come forward. Anyone? Okay, I would like to ask one question. That is my personal question, that I came to know, ma'am, that you have organized mountaineering training for the blinds. It's very nice and innovative idea. We have never heard about this before. So I would like to hear, we will all like to hear your experience in brief, if you want to share with us, ma'am.
Thank you. Actually, Madhu Singhal, who spoke a short while ago, she also participated in it. It was really interesting. We began it in 1989, and that's the idea came from a blind railway employee, Arup Chakravarti. He was an announcer in Eastern Railway Shialda station. So he would go to trekking. So he once came and told me, Henadi, I have my escort, but sometimes I get stuck in certain places because I can't see, and this escort has no idea. So why don't we try some mountaineering training? So I thought it over, and I just shot a letter to the principal, Colonel Roy, to HMI. So immediately Colonel Roy replied, and he said, I don't understand anything what you mean. I'm going to Calcutta and I'll have a talk with you. And then later on, I realized that Colonel Roy came, he talked, and then he went back. And in 1989, Darjeeling was just rocked with Gorkha land agitation. So Colonel Roy later told us that in the Indian Mountaineering Foundation, they had to endorse it. They had to finance it. Nobody would give any consent to this program. They would say, are you mad or what? They already have an injury. They have already had an impairment, and you want to take them to mountains. So he waited. He said, I waited for months till this secretary is transferred. I mean, look at this emotional involvement. So after this senior secretary was transferred, he again raised this point. It was granted, and then what Colonel Roy told me right in the beginning, there is only one person in HMI, one trainer. If he says yes, Henadi, you know it will be done. And that was Mr. Nimatashi. And believe me, he can be really considered a guru. So he said, what? Training blind persons, there'll be one escort for each blind person. Rest of the thing you leave on me. And that was a basic course. No?
Ma'am, you continue.
I continue. Acha. So, and you imagine there will be training for 3 days within the HMI premises. Then we will taken by a day's bypass to Yoksam. And from Yoksam, every day there will be trekking up. And it's really hard, really hard. Yoksam, Bakhim, Fedang, Zongri. It's really tough. It's meant for the sighted. But most of the blind young persons who came from all over India, first they would try to kill me because literally speaking, physically it is exhausting. But the moment they are up on the zongri, they'll just rally around me and say, Madam, when this course will be happening next year? And it's a very famous saying among the mountaineers, Pagla kutta kata kya? The mountaineers are called. So I said, what do you mean? Just a few hours ago, you're telling me what wrong you have done? So when we came back, what the impact was that the person from a very rural area, she came with her, she climbed Songri, and when she went back with the photographs, the Panchayat Pradhan said, oh my God, you have climbed up to Zongri. Can't believe it. So that person who was shoved in as a blind woman, not worth it, being given proper dignity, she got a status. And many persons asked me that what madness is this, and Adi, why don't you give them some employment? They're coming from poor families. So I said, why don't you ask them whether they enjoy or not? So then these blind students, they, you know what reply they gave? They said, first of all, the family never texts us. The family always says, don't come with us to Durga Puja Pandal because you won't see anything. So even when we go together, it just finishes in a second because they go either by car or by bus. They don't relay anything, what is there around. So we are lost. But here, we are feeling so enriched. We are getting the smell. And believe me, there are 4 rivers in this Zongri trek. And every river, they would know exactly on the right time that Sonso River is coming. And the way they absorbed, they practically soaked in that environment. So we continued up to 2001 annual course. And then later on, it became difficult because escorts are not getting leaves. And funding also was a problem. But it was adorable. It was amazing.
Thank you, ma'am. We can understand how much thrilling it was for them, because it was thrilling for us to hear also the experience. Very nice, never heard of it before, and extremely memorable for this experience to us also that you shared. Okay, and thank you so
Shreya,
much
I
for
want
this.
to share one thing.
Okay, surely, ma'am, you can.
Hello? Am I
Yes, ma'am,
audible?
you can ask. Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Shreya, I want to share one thing, madam. Yesterday, it is good news for NATMO, because yesterday, just at night, I received one mail from Professor Sham from Xavier's Research Institute, Mumbai. He helped us a lot for the Marathi translation for Braille Atlas. He is also trying to do something, and I have already contacted with Madhu Singhal, madam. I have seen you today's webinar. Thank you, madam. And I have already contacted throughout India. If you have any contact, please tell us, because we want to publish in different languages. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Welcome.
Save meeting files unchecked. Leave escape.
Thank you.
Mute button to act. Save meeting files unchecked. Leave meet escape. Mute button to activate. Press space.
Thank you so much for the excellent interactive session that we had. We have come to the end of today's event, which is a part of NATMO's new initiative for this year-long celebration, which is known as Vision Without Sight. I sincerely thank our respected Director Madam for giving us this platform to share ideas amongst us. I convey my sincere gratitude to our Honorable Speaker, Srimati Hina Basu Madam, for sparing us her valuable time. I thank all the dignitaries, NATMO officers and staff members for being a part of this event and making it successful. And last but not the least, I thank DST, Government of India, for being there and giving us continuous support. Thank you all for joining, and we will meet very soon in our next webinar. And now I would request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे